There's a war happening inside your mind, and most never realize it, a war between doubt and destiny, between fear and fire, between the version of you the world has molded, and the champion who's buried beneath years of noise, pain, comfort, and hesitation. The world taught you to react, to fit in, to stay safe, but the truth, the ones who rise, the ones who conquer, are not the ones who react to life. They command it, and the battlefield, it's thought, pure thought. The invisible script that writes your future before your hands even touch it. Train your thoughts like a champion, or your thoughts will chain you like a prisoner. Look around, everything you see, everything man has ever built, began first as thought. Thought is the raw material of empires, the blueprint of revolutions, the spark behind every triumph and tragedy in human history. Edison's light, a thought he refused to let die after 1,000 failures. Lincoln's resolve, a thought that freedom was not a privilege but a birthright. Disney's kingdom, a thought so vivid he saw castles before he had a single brick. They were not magicians, they were masters of the mind. And the truth, so are you, if you choose, but you must choose, because the undisciplined mind is a tyrant. It will whisper doubt when you try to grow. It will replay every past failure like a broken record. It will chain you to mediocrity, unless you become its master, and mastery begins with discipline, not discipline of the body first, but of the invisible domain of thought. This is where champions are made. In silence, in solitude, in the secret hours when no one is watching. But the mind is listening, it is always listening, and it becomes what you feed it. The greats are not born. They are trained, not just in body, but in mindset. In the way they believe, because belief is the soil in which all action grows. A weak belief system will produce a weak life, no matter how hard you try. But belief, when cultivated like a weapon, can pierce through every obstacle the world dares to place before you. Henry Ford was laughed out of rooms when he claimed he'd build a car affordable for every man. They said, "That's impossible." And he said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." He knew. The mind obeys what you believe, not what you wish, not what you hope, what you believe. So what are you feeding your mind? What thoughts are you allowing to take root? Because every thought is a seed, and seeds become forests. Champions do not tolerate weeds in the garden of their mind. They uproot them with force. They guard their beliefs like treasure. They do not let opinions, failures, or fear shape their reality. The average man sees through the lens of limitation. The champion trains his thoughts to seek power, not fantasy, power, belief grounded in vision, clarity, and action. He trains his inner voice until it's a weapon of war, not a whisper of worry. If you think greatness is only for the chosen, understand this: the chosen are not born. They are forged by the fire of belief, disciplined over time. Before anything changes in the world, it must first become clear in the mind. Clarity is power. Vision is destiny. Without them, you are just motion without meaning. You may work hard, but you will dig in circles. You may move fast, but you'll chase what you don't want. Life does not reward motion. It rewards direction. Carnegie had a vision, not of steel, but of scale, of an empire that would outlive him. He saw it before it was real, and because he saw it, he trained his thoughts to serve it. That's what vision does. It commands your focus. It forces your mind to submit to a single burning image of the future. You cannot rise without vision. You cannot discipline your thoughts without clarity. The mind must know what to serve. It must know why it must suffer. Otherwise, the discomfort of growth will break you. But when vision is clear, so clear you can see it, taste it, walk in it mentally before it's yours, then your thoughts begin to bow to your purpose. Train your mind to hold the image of your destiny with conviction. Make it so vivid that the world's doubts can't touch it. Make it so vivid that even your failures feel like progress. The mind is visual. If you do not give it a picture of the life you want, it will replay the life you've lived. Champions rehearse the future in the theater of thought. That's where winning begins. Discipline is the gatekeeper, the separator of dreamers and doers, of those who wish, and those who become. But discipline is not just about action. It starts deeper. It starts in the thoughts you allow, because what you allow in your mind eventually controls your life. Most people think discipline is forcing yourself to act. But real discipline begins when you refuse to entertain the thought of quitting. When you reject distraction like poison, when you starve excuses and feed focus, the disciplined mind is a trained assassin. It does not negotiate with weakness. Muhammad Ali said, "I hated every minute of training, but I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion." That wasn't physical toughness. That was mental clarity, trained thought, disciplined belief, and that is what separates those who rise from those who remain. They train their mind, not once, not sometimes, but daily. Like a soldier sharpens his blade, the champion sharpens his focus. Discipline isn't glamorous, it's quiet, it's lonely, but it is in that silence that power is forged. And the mind, when trained, becomes the most ruthless ally in existence. You do not rise by default. You rise by decision. 1,000 mental decisions every day. Think like the person you're becoming, not the person you've been. And that is the ultimate form of discipline, to align thought with destiny before reality reflects it. No vision becomes real without action. No dream survives the inertia of this world without relentless execution. But action is not random. It is not mere movement. It is thought made flesh. It is the disciplined mind translated into motion. Every time you act, you send a signal to your mind about what matters. Champions do not act when they feel ready. They act to prove to the mind that they are already becoming ready. That's the edge, the average weight for motivation. Champions train the thought that motion is medicine. Walt Disney was rejected over 300 times before he secured financing for his vision. He was told again and again, no one will come. But he had already rehearsed the outcome in his mind so many times that their rejection meant nothing. His thoughts were stronger than their voices. This is how champions think. They do not act based on how they feel. They act based on who they've decided to become. Their behavior obeys their future, not their mood. And this is the test. Will you act without applause? Will you move without validation? Will you show up when no one cares? That's where most fall. Because their thoughts are still trained to serve comfort, not commitment. Train your thoughts to follow through. Make your word a law. Burn the option to quit. Because when your thoughts are disciplined, your action becomes inevitable, and when your action is inevitable, your results are only a matter of time. But here's the paradox. The mind only performs at its peak when it's rooted in presence, and the secret weapon of presence is gratitude. Gratitude isn't weak. It's not sentimental fluff. Gratitude is warfare. It anchors the mind in abundance. It redirects your focus from what's missing to what's possible. The champion trains his thoughts to see the gain, not just the gap, because what you focus on, you fuel. Most live in a trance of scarcity. They obsess over what they lack, so their mind repeats lack. But the disciplined thinker, he sees the tiniest gain as a seed, he waters it, he builds momentum not from what's perfect, but from what's present. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times, but he said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10 zero ways that won't work." That's gratitude in action. That's power perspective. That's what a trained mind sounds like. It doesn't spiral, it rises. Train your thoughts to scan for strength, for progress, for proof of power. The more you focus on what you can use, the more life will deliver it, not because of magic, but because of mental bias. The brain finds what it's told to look for. Tell it to find pain, and it will. Tell it to find possibility, and it becomes a weapon. Gratitude trains the mind to see the field, not just the obstacle. And in war, the warrior who sees more wins more. Now listen close, because here's where most people fall. They chase goals. Champions live from purpose. Goals are targets. Purpose is identity, and identity is what the mind truly obeys. You cannot outperform the story you tell yourself about who you are. If you believe you're average, you'll sabotage success the moment it arrives. If you believe you're temporary, you'll crumble in storms. But when you train your thoughts to align with purpose, to know that your mission is bigger than your feelings, then every doubt becomes irrelevant. Lincoln did not keep fighting through failure because it was easy. He did it because the cause was bigger than him, because purpose gave him power, power to think with clarity when others panicked, power to remain still when the nation shook. That's what purpose does. It makes your thoughts bulletproof. So ask yourself, who are you when everything is stripped away? What are you willing to suffer for? That answer is your anchor. That answer is the voice your thoughts must obey. And when you train your mind to report to purpose instead of emotion, you become unstoppable. Purpose makes pain irrelevant. It makes discomfort a training ground. It makes struggle sacred, and every champion, every true legend, was not led by comfort. They were pulled by purpose. Don't just set goals, rewrite your identity. Make every thought echo your mission. A rigid mind is a broken mind. Champions aren't just disciplined. They're adaptable. They are not fixed. They flow. They pivot without panic. They bend without breaking. Why? Because they've trained their thoughts to evolve, not to cling. You will be tested. That's not a warning. It's a guarantee. Life will punch you where it hurts. Plans will crumble. Paths will vanish. And in that moment you will have two choices: resist reality or respond with power. The champion chooses power. He doesn't collapse into emotion. He commands emotion. He doesn't drown in confusion. He disciplines clarity because he understands success is not about being rigid in the plan. It's about being relentless in the purpose. The vision remains. The route may shift. Abraham Lincoln led a divided nation through its bloodiest war. Every plan broke. Every moment tested his sanity, but his purpose, his trained belief in unity and liberty, remained unshaken. He adapted not because it was easy, but because the mission demanded it. The untrained mind is obsessed with control. The trained mind is obsessed with response. It doesn't need the perfect condition. It needs only one thing, the command to keep moving. Adaptability is the mark of a true champion, not because they avoid chaos, but because they become calm in it. They do not fear change. They train their thoughts to extract power from it. But hear this, discipline alone is not enough. You must remain a student, because the mind that stops learning begins dying. Champions train their thoughts to stay open, not to criticism, but to correction, not to opinions, but to wisdom. They are not arrogant. They are hungry. Carnegie built an empire, but he read daily. Edison invented light, but he studied relentlessly. The moment you think you've arrived, you begin the descent, because mastery is not a destination. It is a mindset. You must train your thoughts to love correction, to crave evolution, to seek the edge others avoid. The world moves fast. The champions move faster, not by speed, but by growth, by learning, by never confusing success with finality. The most dangerous place to be is comfortable. Comfort seduces the undisciplined mind. But the trained mind, it stays uncomfortable on purpose. It seeks challenge. It asks, where am I still small? Where am I still blind? And then it moves. That is how you expand. That is how you outgrow fear. Not by removing the risk, but by growing into someone who dominates it. Growth is not an event. It is the atmosphere champions breathe. There will come a moment when you are alone, when the lights are off. The praise has faded. The setbacks pile higher than your strength, and the only thing left is you. In that moment, you will meet your real self, not the one you post online, not the one you show your friends, but the raw, burning core of your being. The question is, have you trained that self, or have you neglected it? Resilience is not talent, it's not luck. It's the outcome of thousands of mental reps, the choice to rise again and again, until rising becomes identity. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years behind bars, 27, and when he emerged, he did not speak of vengeance. He spoke of vision, of unity, of peace. That was not luck. That was the result of a trained mind that chose freedom inside before freedom ever came outside. Resilience is not just enduring pain, it's extracting purpose from pain. It's looking at the blow and saying, "You don't define me, you refine me." Train your thoughts to love the climb, to crave the pressure, to respect the suffering, because within it is the seed of power. Every challenge is a weight, and every time you lift it, your mind becomes harder to break. Champions do not seek the easy road, they seek the road that shapes them. Because they know steel is not made in comfort, it is forged in fire. But hear this, discipline alone is not enough. You must remain a student, because the mind that stops learning begins dying. Champions train their thoughts to stay open, not to criticism, but to correction. Not to opinions, but to wisdom. They are not arrogant, they are hungry. Carnegie built an empire, but he read daily. Edison invented light, but he studied relentlessly. The moment you think you've arrived, you begin the descent. Because mastery is not a destination, it is a mindset. You must train your thoughts to love correction, to crave evolution, to seek the edge others avoid. The world moves fast, the champions move faster. Not by speed, but by growth, by learning, by never confusing success with finality. The most dangerous place to be is comfortable. Comfort seduces the undisciplined mind, but the trained mind, it stays uncomfortable on purpose. It seeks challenge. It asks, where am I still small? Where am I still blind? And then it moves. That is how you expand. That is how you outgrow fear. Not by removing the risk, but by growing into someone who dominates it. Growth is not an event. It is the atmosphere champions breathe. Your outer world is just a mirror. It reflects back the script you run internally. The question is, who wrote that script? Your parents. Your culture, your failures, your past, your wounds, because if you never grabbed the pen, then your mind is living someone else's life. Champions rewrite the script, line by line, word by word, until every sentence reflects who they've chosen to be. Not who they were, not who others said they'd be, not who the world expected, but who they have declared in defiance to become. This is not surface work. This is soul excavation. You must dig into your beliefs. You must challenge every limitation. You must stare down every I can't, every I'm not good enough, every I've failed too many times, and replace them with declarations of power, not empty affirmations, not fantasy, but evidence, base truth. You've survived pain, that's power. You've endured failure, that's resilience. You've gotten back up. That's the foundation of belief. Champions train their thoughts not just with words, but with evidence. They collect wins. They stack proof. They rehearse reality until the mind has no choice but to believe, because the subconscious is obedient. It does not ask what is true. It asks what is repeated. Feed it power, and it will repeat power. Feed it weakness, and it will kneel to fear. Your inner script is your operating system. Upgrade it, or be ruled by it. Understand this. The most important battle you'll ever fight is not with the world, it's between your will and your emotion. Emotion is temporary, will is eternal. Emotion wants comfort, will demands greatness. Emotion is the voice of now, will is the voice of legacy, and champions, they train their thoughts to obey will, not emotion. They wake up tired and move anyway. They feel fear and push forward anyway. They face rejection and build anyway, because their thoughts have been conditioned to rise above the wave of feeling and ride the wind of purpose. You cannot escape emotion, but you can train the response. That's the key. Most people live by reaction. Champions live by decision. They've made the decision before the emotion ever comes. So when doubt arrives, when laziness whispers, when fear shouts, they already have the script. They've written it, memorized it, owned it. This is what separates the few from the many. Not intelligence, not talent, but mental loyalty. They are loyal to their standard, not their state. They refuse to let a temporary feeling rob them of a permanent future. So train your mind, choose your responses in advance, because the more you let thought obey will the more unstoppable you become. Mastery is not perfection. It is not a finish line. Mastery is control, not of outcomes, not of applause, not of circumstance, but of self. And that control begins and ends in thought. The man who masters his mind masters his life. You can feel it when they walk into a room, the presence, the calm, the intensity. It's not bravado, it's not noise. It's not volume, it's clarity. You are not seeing their power. You are seeing the result of thousands of hours, training the invisible, holding back emotion, reframing fear, choosing silence over reaction. Action over excuse, purpose over panic. Champions do not scream, they know, they do not panic, they decide, they do not drift, they move with direction, because their thoughts are trained to obey vision, not chaos. They have conditioned their mind to report to identity, not insecurity. You cannot master anything around you until you have mastered everything within you. This is what made Napoleon Hill's philosophy immortal. Not because it was a motivational chant, but because it was a declaration of self-command, a reminder that all riches, mental, material, emotional, begin with dominion over thought, and you don't need to wait for mastery to begin. You begin it the moment you decide, I no longer negotiate with weakness. That moment, that's your revolution. You train it, you repeat it, you reinforce it, until your mind stops resisting greatness and starts expecting it. Your outer world is just a mirror. It reflects back the script you run internally. The question is, who wrote that script? Your parents, your culture, your failures, your past. Your wounds, because if you never grabbed the pen, then your mind is living someone else's life. Champions rewrite the script, line by line, word by word, until every sentence reflects who they've chosen to be. Not who they were, not who others said they'd be, not who the world expected, but who they have declared in defiance to become. This is not surface work. This is soul excavation. You must dig into your beliefs. You must challenge every limitation. You must stare down every I can't, every I'm not good enough, every I've failed too many times, and replace them with declarations of power, not empty affirmation. Not fantasy, but evidence, base truth. You've survived pain, that's power. You've endured failure, that's resilience. You've gotten back up, that's the foundation of belief. Champions train their thoughts not just with words, but with evidence. They collect wins, they stack proof. They rehearse reality until the mind has no choice but to believe, because the subconscious is obedient. It does not ask what is true. It asks what is repeated. Feed it power, and it will repeat power. Feed it weakness, and it will kneel to fear. Your inner script is your operating system. Upgrade it, or be ruled by it. Understand this. The most important battle you'll ever fight is not with the world, it's between your will and your emotion. Emotion is temporary, will is eternal. Emotion wants comfort, will demands greatness. Emotion is the voice of now. Will is the voice of legacy, and champions, they train their thoughts to obey will, not emotion. They wake up tired and move anyway. They feel fear and push forward anyway. They face rejection and build anyway, because their thoughts have been conditioned to rise above the wave of feeling and ride the wind of purpose. You cannot escape emotion, but you can train the response. That's the key. Most people live by reaction. Champions live by decision. They've made the decision before the emotion ever comes. So when doubt arrives, when laziness whispers, when fear shouts, they already have the script. They've written it, memorized it, owned it. This is what separates the few from the many. Not intelligence, not talent, but mental loyalty. They are loyal to their standard, not their state. They refuse to let a temporary feeling rob them of a permanent future. So train your mind, choose your responses in advance, because the more you let thought obey will the more unstoppable you become. We all have it, that voice, that critic, that saboteur, the whisper in the back of your mind that says, "You're not enough. Who do you think you are? You'll fail again." That voice is ancient. It's primal. It was built for survival, not success. But here's the truth. You can't delete the voice, but you can dethrone it. The champion trains a louder voice. A clearer voice, a voice forged from purpose, proof, and promise. A voice that says, "I've walked through fire, I've bled, I've stood back up, and I will not be stopped." You must starve the critic and feed the commander. How? Every time the critic speaks, respond with evidence. Speak truth to it, not fantasy, not denial, but evidence. I've been here before. I've made it through worse. I am not defined by this moment. Repetition rewires the brain. Fire this pattern enough times, and the critic gets quieter. The commander grows louder, and eventually, you no longer hesitate, you move, you become a man, or woman, whose thoughts have been trained to serve the mission, not sabotage it. This is mental liberation. This is power. This is the voice of the champion within. You must understand champions don't try to think better. They train it like war, like breathing, like survival. They know that the world is ruthless. Distractions will come, doubts will come, temptations will scream, but their mind does not sway, because it has orders, it follows principle, not mood. This isn't motivational fluff. This is elite-level mental performance. The same principles followed by commanders, CEO, athletes, warriors, the ability to hold the thought of victory even when everything looks like defeat, to remain still when others panic, to remain focused when others drift, to remain hungry when others settle. This is what separates those who finish from those who fade. And here's the truth. Thought discipline isn't a one-time event. It's a lifestyle. It's brushing the mind daily. Rewriting the code, holding the standard, sharpening the sword, not when it's easy, but especially when it's not. That is when greatness is forged, not in ease but in the grind. So commit now, not to a moment of power, but to a life of power. A life where every thought is aligned with destiny, a life where the mind no longer resists success, but executes it. You were never born to beg. You were not built to shrink, to doubt, to surrender at the altar of comfort. There is a champion inside of you, not a cliché, not a slogan, a force forged for war, born to lead, wired to rise, and that champion has been waiting, watching, buried beneath years of compromise, hesitation, and untrained thought. But now you feel it, don't you? That flicker, that fire, that knowing. It's always been there, beneath the fear, beneath the wounds, beneath the mask. It's the part of you that doesn't settle, that dreams louder, that refuses to die. And now you must choose. Will you train your thoughts to release that champion? Or will you live another year in chains you were always strong enough to break? Because champions are not just born in hunger. They are born in decision. A decision to no longer tolerate the lesser version of yourself. A decision to no longer entertain the small thoughts, the weak beliefs, the distractions that steal your future. A decision to kill the story that says, "I can't." Understand, there is no cavalry coming. No savior, no miracle moment. You are it. And it begins the moment you say, "Enough." Enough waiting, enough wishing. Enough thinking like a prisoner while carrying the DNA of a king. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect. You don't need applause. You need only one thing, a trained mind. That's the gate, because the moment your thoughts obey your purpose, your life begins to obey your design. The world stops happening to you and begins moving through you. You stop reacting and start rebuilding. You stop following and start leading. You stop doubting and start becoming. You were never meant to live at the mercy of circumstance. You were meant to command it. Train your thoughts like a champion, and the world cannot contain you, because champions are not defined by wealth, fame, or applause. They are defined by the discipline of their inner world, by the steel of their will, by the unshakable mindset that refuses to fold, no matter what breaks around them. And here is your truth. You do not become great when the crowd watches. You become great when no one's there. In the morning, when your alarm screams and your mind says 5 more minutes. In the gym, when the last rep burns. At night, when doubt crawls in and the old thoughts try to return. It is in those moments, the silent, invisible battles, that legends are born. Every champion you've ever admired bled there, fought there, wept there, and won there. This is not a game of talent. This is not a lottery of luck. This is a war of thought. And the ones who rise are not the ones who had it easy. They are the ones who trained the hardest. They trained their focus when others scattered. They trained their gratitude when others complained. They trained their clarity when others got lost. They trained their identity until their past could no longer find them. And now, so can you. If you take nothing else, take this. Your thoughts are not innocent. They are not background noise. They are commands. Every day they shape your future. Every moment they decide your destiny. You can train them, or be trained by them. You can master them, or be mastered by them. You can rise now, or be ruled forever. The choice is not random. It is not fate. It is you. So rise. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now, because greatness doesn't wait for convenience. It waits for commitment, and this right here, is the moment champions are made. Train your thoughts like a champion, and there will be nothing left to stop you. Not fear, not failure, not the past, not the world, because the world bows to the man who masters himself.